Good evening. It is good to be here. It's good to see you all here. Yes, we're going to share with you about our Mountain States trip this evening. It was just kind of worked out this way. This wasn't planned, but this morning Richard talked about service and about servanthood. And one of the verses he mentioned was Galatians 6, verse 10. Therefore, as we have opportunity, let us work for the good of all, especially those who belong to the household of faith. I think sometimes we kind of tend to jump to the household of faith and we say, you know, we need to be helping each other, we need to be working for each other within the body, but we can't skip over that all. You know, he says we need to be doing good to all. This trip is a great example of this verse in a nutshell. This is a home in Longmont, Colorado that is run by Christians, is overseen by the Collier Street congregation in Longmont. The house parents all there are married, but all the kids there aren't necessarily Christians, don't come from Christian backgrounds. So it's a great opportunity to serve all. It's working with and within the household of faith, but we're able to impact the lives of kids who maybe while they're at the home there, that might be their closest and hopefully their best exposure to the Lord's church. Like I said, the kids that are there, at the time that we were there were 24 kids, I believe. There's usually more than some of them kind of go different places. Sorry, I'm having left contact right now, so just trying not to look over here. Usually there are more of them, but like I said, during the summer, we had 24. There are 5 different cottages. I can never remember the term, a transitional cottage or something like that, where one set of house parents is off for a couple weeks. They live in the house and somebody else into their house to stay with their kids so they have some time to themselves. So that works out pretty well. Usually we leave on Saturday morning bright and early. This year we waited till Sunday morning so we could give those who wanted to the opportunity to attend Arnie's service, which I thought was a good idea. So we met up here 6 o'clock Sunday morning. We had a very short service in the remote service area, took communion, had a little devotional. David led us in some songs, and we got on the bus ready. Well, our bus wasn't here until about 6:20, which was a little concerning too, but the bus got here, we loaded up, we were on the road, I think, by about 6:45. This is the route we go, just in case you're interested. We leave here, go down through Salt Lake City. Actually, we stop in Burley and we change drivers. We've had the same driver for the duration of our trip, on every one of our trips except one, and he asks to go with us. His name is Mo Ankeny. I believe he lives over in Caldwell, but he asks to go with us. In fact, the lady that sets up the reservations, I happened to mention when I talked to her in January or whatever, I said, you know, we've had Mo almost every trip except one. We had Joy, the lady that was our driver, but so you know if available, you know, we'd like to have him be our driver. And she was like, he puts on his annual vacation report, if the Linder Church has a trip, I want it. So he's our driver. So we go down through that way. We stop in Evanston, Wyoming for lunch, and then trek across Wyoming, which usually I make jokes about. I mean, it was very green on this trip. It was really, really pretty, this trip. And then we stop in Laramie for dinner, and then we make the run from Laramie down to Longmont, another hour or so, hour and a half, and then we get in. We got in late Sunday. Usually we have Sunday to where we have a down day. We go and worship with the Collier Street congregation, and then we come back and we have lunch, and then we just spend the whole day with our kids, getting to know the Mountain States kids. We sit around and visit with the house parents, and then we kind of get acclimated to what our jobs are going to be for the week. List of jobs that we've done. He asked me about that a couple weeks ago, and I told him, you know, that Nick usually sends me a list of volunteer projects right before we leave. So I just printed it off for Richard, and I got to look at it. I was like, man, how many people do we take? Well, that's what's interesting. We've taken a lot of different people. Am I cutting out? on live stream. Yep. Okay, yeah. So we when we got there Sunday night, we didn't have the usual tour. We didn't have the usual sit down and say, okay, here's what your jobs are going to be. But we've been there. Like I said, this was our 5th trip, so we have enough experience with the people who have gone that when we started Monday morning, and he said, I need a group of you to go to the shop, a group of you to go to the DC, a group of you to go to the wherever. We're familiar enough that we don't have to have a tour. So we jumped in. This is our group. You'll see this whole group again later. That's all of our group except for me and the angels. I'm taking the picture. The angels are enjoying a day away from all of us, I think. We'll get more to that later. If you're in this picture, if you're in this group, would you please stand up? Okay, we had 30 to 33 on this trip. There's some debate a couple of times. Sometimes they're supposed to be, but we won't go into that. So we had 33 total on this trip. If on this trip before, ever stand up, please. Some of the veterans back there. We mentioned this morning. We have taken 82 people to Mountain States. That's a quarter of our Sunday morning worship attendance almost. Stand back up. I wasn't done with you. Okay, sit down. I just want to make stand back up. But we've taken almost all those people have been from here, but we've also taken 5 from sister congregations. We've taken 3 from Nampa, different trips. We've taken a young man from Jordan Valley, Oregon, and we picked up a guy from Logan, Utah on the highway, literally 2 years ago. Just met us at a truck stop, and we picked him up. It's a very worthwhile effort. We like I said, for this trip, we got in Monday morning, and I'd even talked with Nick about the idea of maybe giving us the morning off Monday morning to give us some time to kind of have the kids meet kids. We decided, we saw the forecast looked like rain Monday afternoon. We said, let's just start working. That's what we're here to do, so let's just start working. So these are, oh wait, I forgot I put these in there. These are our groups from the past. This is our first trip from 2011, so this shows you some of the people who have been on this trip. 2013, we tried to lose them in the woods there, but they got out. For some reason, 2015 trip, somehow we don't have a group picture, but this is 2017. So this is 2 years ago. You can see some of these little faces. They aren't so little anymore. But so you see that we've taken, there have been some repeats, but we've taken a lot of different people. These are our adult chaperones. This picture is missing me and Jared and the angels and Robert. But look how happy they started working here yet. But what we do is, before we leave, we split everybody into work groups. And we just say, you know, we have 4 workers, 3 or 4. Usually we shoot for 4. And we just put everybody in a group. So when we say, he says, when Nick tells us we need a group to go do this, we say group 1, go this way. Group 2, go this way. So we split up everybody into their groups. This is, I don't know what number this is. This is most of this group, I think. And as you can see, we started with some landscaping. We started with some, oh, well, you'll see. We did some painting, all kinds of stuff. There's major projects that we kind of have, but then during, so, well, oh, yeah, this needs to be done. This needs to be done. So there's that group that's doing some landscaping. We're out here working on this fence. And while I'm on the picture, let me show you this. This right back here, skip this property, not cutting off Ethan's head here. Skip over that property. There's a property right there. Is that right? Am I pointing to the right thing? Is that the cabinet shop? Property, Mountain States is in the process of trying to purchase. And they want to use that property over there as a transitional house for those who age out of the children's home. So once they hit 18, through their study, through the research that they've done, really nationwide, but specifically in Colorado, there's nothing for 18 to 25-year-olds as transitioning from, you know, a children's home type environment to getting used to the real world. So they want to use back here, that, like I said, that's a big cabinet shop that now they're using for storage and a variety of things. But that home back there will be, I think they said they'll be able to make it into about 4 or 5 bedrooms for 18 to 25-year-olds to spend some time there before they're ready to get their feet under them, everything. So that was part of. You can see all the way down. This is Luke Carter. Luke was here a few weeks ago doing a report on the South Africa trip. His daughter Andrea were able to come with us. I don't know what they're taking a break. But there's Jared was on that a lot. Jared had a lot to do with that thing. And he was bringing and helping with these trees. You can't see the trees. You can see the tree kind of laying. But there's Ethan and Linda working on a hole. Had to dig these 3-foot, 4-foot holes or whatever to get these trees. There's more of the. So there was a long stretch of white fence painting. Just part of it was getting your gloves in white paint and just painting this cable, which was interesting and yucky. But we did it. See, I think that's one of the first couple of trees that actually got in the ground. There were some trees that had to come out that were dying, so I had to replace those trees with some new trees. It's this right here is the front of the school. Our stay in the school. It's a school. I mean, it's a small elementary school that live there that age. They attend school there. And like I said, our ladies just take mats and they stay in there. It's carpeted and it's air conditioned, which makes it sound like they're really getting the best end of the deal. But if the air conditioner's not on, it's really, really warm in there. The first night we didn't get the air turned on until a little too late. But with their elementary kids are, I guess you'd call it homeschooled. They're in their school. But then once they get out of elementary, they've been sending them to Longmont public schools. Well, the Christian church has started, I guess a few years ago, started a private school and had one of the, I believe it's one of the house parents was coaching at the school, kind of working with some of their sports programs. They asked him to come on as a teacher. And now I believe there's him and there's another member at the Longmont congregation who are also teaching at this school. And so the school said, why are you sending your kids to public school? Why don't you just send them to our school? And they're like, well, because it's a private school, it's expensive. They said, well, what if one of our board members will raise the money to scholarship the Mountain States kids to come to our private school? So there are Mountain States kids now going to a private school that is faith-based at least, but there are 2 influential people in the church now there as, and there are so many stories like that about this home. I mean, so many things that you can just see God working in this program, working in these people's lives. But anyway, there's some more of the work that we did there. Now, Elena's holding this steel blower. Usually every year we get there and we have to mow and weed eat and do all this stuff. That was not on the list, and I thought maybe Nick just forgot and left it off the list. But we found out that Tuesday or Wednesday, one of the days, the Steel Corporation that make these lawn tools, all kinds of different stuff, chainsaws, they had several of their sales reps from the region, from Montana, Wyoming, Colorado, New Mexico, all came to Mountain States. Somehow, again, one of these bizarre connections that happens with Mountain States. They had a guy who, a member at Longmont, has a store that sells steel. I don't remember what the deal was exactly. But anyway, these steel reps came to Mountain States to test out, have their sales reps test out these new products. So it was doing steel a favor, but the whole time they're weeding, doing all this stuff with these really, really cool. They had this one thing. There was a backpack battery pack, and guy was plugging into all kinds of stuff. They had like, this is not what I should be talking about, but they had this like curb cleaner brush deal. It was so cool, such cool stuff. And Jared was wearing an orange hat trying to blend in with them. Let me see if I could do. Very cool. And I don't know how Elena got that, by the way, but anyway, that was kind of cool to see those guys there doing that. Again, totally volunteering, doing a lot of cleanup, doing a lot of stuff that we didn't do. One of the things that we complained about, I guess I complained about, is we always forget to take before and after pictures. So Caitlin and Chloe decided we need a before and after picture. So this is their before picture of the tree that they were about to undertake. This is their after picture. That's what it takes to dig a hole to put a tree in. Sometimes you get too close to your hole. There were bicycles to assemble. Dakota and a few other guys spent some time building bicycles that were, I'm assuming the bicycles were donated. I didn't really hear the whole story there, but putting those bicycles together, and you see sometimes the work projects get a little dicey. I don't know what's happening in that picture, to tell you the truth, or this one. But, you know, you kind of feel like that at some. You get your hole dug finally, and you're like, yes, we finished that part of the project. The back building back here, you'll see some other pictures of that. That is the distribution center. Of it is the most random collection of stuff you can possibly imagine. It's all the stuff that gets donated to the school. Part of our group's effort one day was to organize some of the stuff and take some of the stuff to the thrift store. I'll tell you more about that in a second too. But I mean, it was just all kinds of stuff. We're just kind of going, how do you determine what goes where? How do you make the piles? But you kind of get it. Looks like if you were to go up to Idaho City, or say, it looks like a little store, and it's all the food he and other congregations donate Mountain State. It's just a store for the house over and just decide they need a pound or a bag of flour or whatever. They just go get it from the store. Part of that process too is we go in there and go through the shelves and pick out what is expired or too expired or whatever the terminology is. Just the stuff that needs to go, they get it out of there. So that's part of the projects that happen there. You see Dan with his double glasses there, and that's what he's doing. He's checking dates, stuff that's too old comes off the shelf, even the canned stuff. Lauren, I got to tell this. Lauren dug this hole. Connor helped a little bit on this. Lauren dug the cleanest hole I have ever seen in my life. It was unbelievable. He was right down from me and Kara. We fought ours forever. Walked down there and it's like, dirt, just mess it up. Let me show you. Well, you see the sky. Wednesday it was beautiful, but Wednesday it was hot. It was our only day really that was hot. This is from Monday or Tuesday. You see it's kind of cloudy. We had cloudiness and some rain Monday and Tuesday, some really heavy rain, I think Tuesday night. But Wednesday was pretty warm, and of course Wednesday was the day we tried to wrap up getting all the trees in and all that stuff, so warm. This is the room, this is the shop and auction barn. I don't know why they call it auction. One of the things that Richard said this morning is, on the list of jobs that we have done, is sorting bolts and nuts and separating the good ones from the bad. That in Caitlin's heads, and that really was a job that they were part of a couple years ago. Bolts and throwing them away. And there's the gentleman that is kind of their grounds manager guy. I don't know what you call him. Roy is his name. Roy is, I don't know how old Roy is, but Roy doesn't throw away anything. I mean, there is a use for everything. And there were a couple that upstairs thing, because Roy doesn't throw away, he repurposes. That's his term. Is everything gets repurposed. So you kind of have to go, all right, we can't throw that away. More in the food room. There was a gigantic, I don't remember what the story was with the DVDs, a video store, the last video store on earth or whatever, was shut down. And there was a giant thing of DVDs had to be taken out of the store security thing and then boxes. And then they're just going to take these over to their thrift store to sell. 4 years ago, I believe, they had the idea of, to continue to raise money for some of their projects, some of the things at the school. The school has received so many donations over the years. They got to the point that, their distribution center was overflowing. They were like, we got to do something with this stuff. So they said, let's just rent this space in the strip mall as a thrift store. So they have this thrift store that they take the overflow of donations, and then taking them down to the thrift store, and all the money then comes to Mountain States. And again, the story behind the thrift store thing is one of those things. It's an incredible story in and of itself, but we'll just leave it at more digging. All kinds of tools. This is that building is right next to the school. The office built. I don't know if people they have on staff, but of course it's its own separate thing. Here you can see house. 2 trips ago, we did all kinds of landscaping and stuff around. That Jim and her name. They actually let us come into the house our last night and showed us around the house. It's amazing. I'll say more about that in a minute if we get a chance to. Again, sorting through all the boxes of Cheerios for some reason. It was unreal. But sometimes you find you get started on these projects. This is Blake and Carissa. This is was that the tack room? Whatever that scary room was. Scary room with lots of bugs, etc. Odd stuff. But anyway, what you do is you find out that even as you're working, well, like I said, we work from about 9 to about noon, and then again from 1:30 to about 4. But you figure out what's fun. I mean, it ends up being enjoyable. The work that has to be done, obviously, is feeding us. Like I said, we take 30 whatever people. This is Monday. This is Dan and Lauren out grilling. I think that's Wednesday. Robert's out grilling. This was a familiar sight the entire week, which brings me to really probably the stars, probably from the Mountain States residents' perspective. The stars of our trip are Russ and Deb Angel. We are the only trip that comes to Mountain States. We're not the only trip that comes to Mountain States. There are other youth groups that come and do the same kind of stuff we do periodically. We're the only group that brings a cook. And every other group, the people at Mountain States have to feed that group. When we come, Russ feeds everybody. Russ and Deb make food for, what was 80 people, something like that total? And if you've never experienced a Russ meal, there will be like 3 plates of food left over if people didn't eat too much or what. I mean, he has it down to an absolute science. It's so cool. The residents, the house parents, the kids, they all come eat with us lunch and dinner. And I had 4 different house parents tell me that the Linder Road group is our favorite group. And at first I'm like, it's cool. And I was like, sorry, that with you either. Because it's literally a week off for the house parents. Because you imagine if you're a house parent and you have 6 of the older boys living in your house, can you imagine how much time you're spending cooking and cleaning up from cooking? So the Linder group shows up and they're all like, yes. Cereal for a week and we're done. If you get a chance, thank Russ and Deb for their work. This is, every trip plus camp that they do this. year in and year out, and it's so very much appreciated. We thank you guys a bunch. Part of that is what we also do with our meals is we have our kids help with setup, help with cleanup, and help serve the meals. So we have three, or usually we try and have three of our kids come help do the service. We get in line, we eat with all the rest of the, with everybody there. Just waiting in line for lunch, but it's worth the wait because what we found out is we always are going to have enough butter. That was a 50-pound block of butter. I just had to show that. I just thought it was. I think that's what Chloe's excited about is butter. But no, just so you don't have the impression that we're talking like sandwiches and hot dogs and hot pockets or whatever. I had to show you this is one of our meals. I'm telling you. Be nice to Russ. Be nice to Deb. It's amazing. We're so well taken care of by them. It's great. But like I said, that's part of what we have our kids do is get involved with that too. And then we sit like this table. A lot of that table is Mountain States residents. There's a house mom. We have about an hour and a half for lunch where we just kind of sit and hang out and talk and try and get to know them and hear some of their stories and just share some time with them. But of course, we also have some time just for playing. I'm not sure what Jared's doing a trick there or what he's doing, but there's plenty of time. Our evenings are pretty much our own, which is really kind of nice. It just gives us some time to, I say relax, that doesn't happen, but kind of just play around and just take our time to do whatever we need to do. This to me was, I find this so interesting every year. How many 15 to 18-year-olds you think you'd find on a merry-go-round normally? Every break, there were merry-go-round and swings, spinning the merry-go-round, seeing who'd throw up first or whatever, all kinds of fun stuff. Kids, all ages, these are some of our, will soon be adult chaperones, then here, but it's a little uncomfortable. And they're sit around and play games. They bring out board games for us to play, just kind of sit around and play cards or whatever. This one evening, Jared had all of our kids get together and play some game, pushed Elena down or something. I don't remember exactly what happened there. Then there's other projects. On competition on the left, which building? But I have to ask Connor about that. I'll leave that in that. And then this game, this is called carpet ball. It's like shuffleboard with pool balls. I don't know what the deal is, but obviously it's fascinating because this is kind of what you saw every day. Is everybody ganging around the carpet ball for whatever reason. Yeah, so there's a lot of time for our kids to just kind of spend each other, plus the work, playing ping pong, all kinds of different ping pong games happening. Then Wednesday we cut off a little early. This year we didn't cut off early Wednesday, but we every afternoon we have our kids clean up our sleeping areas. Like I said, the girls sleep in the school. The guys just sleep out and around in the gym on cots or mats or whatever. We have them afternoon clean up the sleeping area and clean the bathrooms because, like I said, during the evenings, all the Mountain States people are in the bath, so we don't want to trash what is their home, So we have a time. Wednesday we stopped, cleaned up, all drive into town, take our bus into town, go with the Collier Street congregation. The kids, you can't see building out over this way. The kids all went in there and had their Bible class time together. The rest of us met. Lesson from actually one of the house parents taught class Wednesday night. Then Thursday is our down day, and or our group play day, and we go into Rocky Mountain National Park, and we went to Bear. And one of you put this up here just so you see. We go to 9,500 feet and go for a hike around the lake. So it was beautiful. There was snow on the ground. I mean, deep snow on the ground. There were the occasional snowball fight, I believe. But we take the bus, go from Longmont into Estes Park, and then we go to the Estes Park Visitor Center, and then we wait for another shuttle bus. There was a great deal of confusion. All worked out. So then we take these shuttles and we go from Estes Park into Rocky Mountain National Park to this other place where we catch another shuttle, and then we go to Bear Lake. And this hike is about a mile around the entire lake. It's basically level, but it was gorgeous. It was a beautiful day. We got to see a lot of scenery. We had a little time in line. I didn't get enough. That's probably about how he felt about us. That was about right here. But we take these shuttles, go up and have some time just to see some nature, see some of the beauty of that part of the world. And then we get to spend, we had about 2-3 hours to spend in Estes Park. We've never been to, I think, McCall, probably maybe bigger. I don't know. But and that's why we always do the shirts, so when we go into town, we can kind of look around and see where everybody is in groups, and we have a little bit, and had a little time to shop and look around and drink coffee and do whatever, sightsee, and it's so pretty. It's just such a pretty. And this is the group at the end of it. We got together so we could have a big group picture of ourselves. And then we finish up in Estes Park, and then we come back and clean up. I don't know what Luke's doing there. I don't know if that's helping or not. But we clean up everything. We put up all the tables and chairs, and we mop the whole gym floor. The girls clean up the school, because we want to leave it as good or better than it was when we got there. I don't know if you can see some of the where they kind of sleep. We get everything cleaned up. Every morning and every night, we also have a time where we spend a time of devotion. Several of our young guys stepped up and led devotionals, led songs and prayers. It was really cool. It was cool to see some of these guys stepping up and doing a devotional thought, and sharing the gifts that God's given them with our group. And our morning devotionals were just us. Our evening devotionals, the Mountain States people would join us, and we'd sing, and there'd be 40 of us sitting around together. It was very, very fun. This is his wife. I can't remember her name, Mrs. Mears. She is Randy Scow's daughter. So Nick is Randy's son-in-law, kind of running the day-to-day operations these days. That picture, I don't know. Kathy, they're in the newest cottage, the one able to do the landscaping on a couple years ago. They let us come in the house and see the house. It's so cool. It's such a great setup. You go in the front door, and there's a living room that's kind of a private room. So if the kids have family that come visit them or whatever, they have a place where they can sit and just have some privacy. But then you go through that room, and then Jim and Kathy have basically a little apartment, a decent-sized apartment inside the house that is their private quarters. They have a living room and a kitchen of their own where they have their own private space. But then you go past that, and you're in the common area, and they have a giant kitchen, and from the kitchen, the house parents can see every door of the kids. Their house is a girl's house. So the girls showed us their rooms, were showing off their stuff. It's such a great setup. And Randy said that they had somebody from another children's home in the area or whatever came out and saw that house, and they said, this is how we need to design houses. This is the way we need to do this, where there's privacy, private space for the house parents, but then during the day you can see everything that goes on. All the doors have sensors on them and everything, but the house mom, house dad can see everything that goes on from one central place in the room or in the house. It's a very cool setup. So then, Friday morning, we get up early and head back home. And that's about how it feels right there. And then we stop on the way back. We stopped in Rock Springs, Wyoming. That's a picture of Rock Springs right there. I don't know why I thought that was just so funny. It just looks so abandoned. We stop in Rock Springs and we stop in Twin Falls, and last time in Twin Falls, and then swap drivers and head home. The driver make the whole trip. But that is a very encapsulated version of our trip. There's so much that goes on at that home. There's so many stories that we've heard over the years about what happens at the home, all the amazing blessings that have come to that place. I want to encourage you guys who have gone on this trip before. I want to encourage you guys as a congregation. Thank our elders for this. I mean, our elders, this is when this idea first came up, they just told me, they said, let's figure out how much this is going to cost. Let's figure out a way to get everybody there. Let's do this. To me, this is like Richard's trips to Cameroon. It shows such vision for our elders to not just say we support fill in the blank work because we send a check every month. We send people. We've sent 82 people to go be hands and feet on the ground working with these people, showing them that we're 1,200 miles away, but we care about the work here. So thank our elders for this. It's such a great blessing. All the people there send their thanks. I can't tell you the number of times that the house parents and even the kids said, thank everybody back there at Linder Road. Thank them for support the work that they've over the years with the work there at Mountain States. So let me encourage you to keep this work in your prayers. That's almost a cliche when you say, keep this work in your prayers, and everybody goes, yeah, we will. Really, let me encourage you to keep this work, keep the work in Guatemala, keep the work in Cameroon, keep all of the mission works that this congregation supports. Keep those in your prayers. Next month, we're going to start a song called How Long Has It Been? That is really all about prayer. How long has it been since you've recognized what God does for you in prayer? How long has it been since you've taken your burdens, taken your concerns to God in prayer, and allowed God to carry those burdens like He asked to do? It tells us that we're to cast all of our cares on God. Why? Because He cares about the things that we care about. So we're asked to take all those things and lay them at God's feet. That song that next Sunday night is all about how long has it been since you've realized that? How long has it been since you've spent some time on your knees? How long has it been since you've thanked God for all the great things in your life? In general, that's a great idea. Specifically, I want to just relate that back to the work there at Mountain States. I want to encourage you to really, really pray about it, that they have such great plans. Expansion, growth, the reputation that they have in that area is incredible. So keep their work in your prayers. God asks us, like I said, to bring our concerns, to bring our worries and our struggles. But we also need to be reminded, I guess, that we also need to be thankful. I mean, I thought it was great that Robert mentioned in his prayer, thanking God for the good news that we've had over the last week or so. Surgeries that went well, some surgeries that were avoided, and things like this. That there are people doing good work that, yes, we get to go down and spend a few days every couple years, and it's good for us. It's one of those things that I think Richard even mentioned it, that you go on a trip like this to be the one bringing the blessing and you come home blessed. That's how mission trip, I think. But we need to be thankful for that. Because God wants to hear us be thankful. God wants to hear us express our gratitude. God wants our burdens. But we also have to understand that God's main concern is our eternity. And as we've looked at just some service, some work that we're able to do as a congregation, even the people at Mountain States would tell the goal is to get those kids not just comfortable and adjusted and dealing with whatever their situation is, but they want to draw them closer to all of our objectives, whether it's a mission trip or your mission trip to work in the morning. That's also your mission trip. He wants more than anything is he wants us to be right with him. He wants us to have a relationship with him. This evening, let me just, if you're at a point in your life where you're ready to begin a relationship, we talked about that tonight. You can. If you have questions or you're ready to make that step, let us know. We're standing in a minute and sing a song. Let us know. If you're at a spot in your Christian life where you've disconnected and you want to reconnect, you want our help to help you get something out of your life or just to deal with something that will help you in your walk with Christ, let us know. Whatever need you might have, know while we stand together.